One of the most famous investment websites in the entire world just published an article about XRP. The Motley Fool, a website that millions of ordinary investors read every single day to make decisions about their money. A website that has been giving financial guidance to everyday people for over 30 years. A website that your parents probably trust more than any crypto YouTuber. And here is exactly what they said. XRP is going to $1, and it might go even lower than that. Now, before you close this video in anger, before you type something in the comments, I want you to stay with me for the next 12 minutes. Because I am not going to just dismiss what the Motley Fool said. I am not going to call them idiots. I am not going to tell you they are paid by XRP's enemies to spread fear. I am going to do something much more useful. I am going to read you their exact arguments, one by one, and then I am going to give you the exact counter-evidence that exists right now in March 2026, fact by fact, number by number. And by the end of this video, you will be able to make your own decision about whether the Motley Fool is right or whether they just made one of the biggest investment analysis mistakes of 2026. This is the most important 12 minutes of content for XRP holders this week. Let us go? Step 1. Who is the Motley Fool and why does this article matter? Before I show you their arguments, you need to understand why this article is significant. Because some of you might be thinking, who cares what one website says about XRP? Here is why you should care. The Motley Fool reaches over 15 million readers every single month. These are not crypto enthusiasts. These are ordinary investors. People with retirement accounts. People saving for their children's education. People who have never bought a cryptocurrency in their lives, but are considering it for the first time. When the Motley Fool tells 15 million ordinary investors that XRP is going to $1, some of those investors who are considering buying XRP decide not to. Some investors who already own XRP decide to sell. And some institutional advisors who recommend investment products to wealthy clients see this article and use it as a reason to stay away from XRP ETFs. This article does not just affect how people feel about XRP. It directly affects buying and selling decisions made by millions of people. And that affects the price you see on your screen right now. That is why this article matters. That is why it deserves a serious response. And that is exactly what this video is going to give it. Step 2. The Motley Fool's first argument against XRP. Their first argument is the one that the XRP community hates the most, but it is also the one that deserves the most honest examination. The Motley Fool says that banks do not have to use XRP to benefit from Ripple's technology. Let me explain exactly what they mean. Ripple sells a product called Ripple Payments to banks and financial institutions. This product allows banks to send money internationally in real time. Fast, cheap, reliable. All the things that traditional international wire transfers are not. But here is what the Motley Fool pointed out. Ripple Payments supports fiat currencies, real dollars, real euros, real yen. Banks can use Ripple's network to send these fiat currencies internationally without ever touching XRP. They get the speed benefit. They get the cost benefit. But XRP never gets used. The product that specifically uses XRP is called on-demand liquidity. And on-demand liquidity is optional. Banks can choose it, or they can choose the fiat version. Many banks are choosing the fiat version. Is this argument correct? Yes, it is factually accurate. Ripple's technology does not require XRP. Banks can use Ripple without touching XRP at all. But here is the counter-evidence that the Motley Fool did not fully account for. On-demand liquidity, the product that uses XRP, is significantly cheaper and faster than the fiat version for certain corridors. Specifically for cross-border transfers between currencies that do not have a direct exchange market. For example, sending money from a small African country to Southeast Asia. There is no direct fiat market for that currency pair. You need a bridge currency. And XRP is the cheapest and fastest bridge currency available. As Ripple expands into emerging markets, the corridors where XRP is the only practical solution grow. And Ripple just officially launched institutional services in Brazil last week. Brazil is the largest economy in Latin America. And Latin American corridors are exactly the kind of markets where on-demand liquidity and XRP have a massive practical advantage over fiat alternatives. The Motley Fool is correct that XRP is optional, but they underestimate the markets where XRP is not just optional, but the most practical choice available. Step 3. The Motley Fool's second argument against XRP. Their second argument is about Ripple's own stablecoin, and this one is genuinely interesting. The Motley Fool argues that Ripple's stablecoin is actually better suited for payments than XRP because it experiences practically no volatility. Let me explain the logic. XRP's price fluctuates. It went from $3.65 down to $1.50. That kind of volatility makes it uncomfortable to use as a payment currency. If a bank sends XRP to settle a payment and the XRP price drops 10% during the settlement window, someone loses money. Rlust is a stablecoin. It is always worth $1. No volatility. No risk of losing money during settlement. And it is built on the same XRP ledger. So banks could theoretically use Rlust for payments instead of XRP. The Motley Fool is essentially saying, why would banks use the volatile XRP when they can use Ripple's stable dollar alternative on the same network? This is their strongest argument, and it deserves an honest response. Here is the counter evidence. Rlust and XRP are not competing for the same use case. They are designed for different purposes. Rlust is for stable value transfer within a single currency zone. XRP is for bridging between different currencies instantly in markets where direct exchange is not available or is expensive. Think of it this way. If you want to move dollars from one place to another, Rlust makes sense. But if you want to convert Argentine pesos into Vietnamese dong in seconds, without going through the traditional banking system that has no direct market for that pair, XRP is the bridge. Rlust cannot do that job because it is only worth $1. It cannot serve as a bridge between two non-dollar currencies. The Motley Fool presented these two assets as competitors. They are actually partners. Rlust for dollar-denominated transfers, XRP for cross-currency bridging. The existence of Rlust does not threaten XRP. It completes the ecosystem. Step 4. The Motley Fool's third argument against XRP. Their third argument is about the overall crypto market environment. The Motley Fool points to the broader market weakness. Bitcoin is still down significantly from its all-time high. The macro environment with the US-Iran conflict and Federal Reserve uncertainty is creating headwinds for all risk assets. And in a risk-off environment, speculative assets like XRP tend to underperform safer alternatives. This argument is the hardest to argue against because it is simply true. Macro headwinds are real. The broader market weakness is real. And XRP has significantly underperformed during this period. But here is what the Motley Fool is missing with this argument. Macro environments change. Interest rates change. Geopolitical situations resolve. And when macro conditions improve, the assets that have the strongest fundamental foundation are the ones that recover fastest and rise highest. Right now, while the macro environment is difficult, XRP is building the most powerful institutional foundation in its history. Goldman Sachs holding $154 million of XRP ETFs. MasterCard partnering with Ripple. DTCC integration complete. Ripple completing 5 major acquisitions. 83 institutions officially holding XRP exposure. All of this foundation is being built during the worst possible macro environment. When the macro environment improves, all of that institutional infrastructure does not disappear. It becomes the launch pad for the next move. The Motley Fool is looking at the current macro environment and projecting it forward indefinitely. But macro environments are not permanent, and the foundation being built right now will matter enormously when conditions improve. Step 5. The fresh evidence that the Motley Fool did not have. Now here is where the conversation changes dramatically. Because the Motley Fool published their article without access to several critical developments that happened in the last 72 hours. Development number 1. XRP just officially launched institutional services in Brazil. Brazil is the 9th largest economy in the world. It is the largest in Latin America. And Latin American payment corridors are precisely the markets where XRP's on-demand liquidity has its strongest practical advantage. This is a direct contradiction of the Motley Fool's argument that banks do not need XRP. Brazilian banks moving money across Latin American corridors need exactly what XRP provides. Development number 2. There is a potential XRP ETF approval decision coming on March 27, 2026. That is 7 days from today. The options market is showing a $14.6 million battleground at the $1.40 strike price expiring on exactly that date. If the ETF is approved, the flood of new institutional capital that enters XRP through regulated products could push the price significantly above $2 almost immediately. The Motley Fool's $1 target assumes this ETF approval does not create new demand. That assumption may be about to be tested. Development number 3. XRP just broke a 13-year wallet record with 7.7 million non-empty wallets on the XRP ledger. More individual people are holding XRP right now than at any point in the asset's entire history. The Motley Fool's bearish case requires these people to sell, but 13-year record wallet numbers suggest these holders are not selling. They are accumulating. Development number 4. Standard Chartered Bank, one of the world's largest financial institutions, published an official price target of $2.80 near term and $8 by year in 2026. Standard Chartered is not a crypto Twitter account. It is one of the oldest and most respected banks in the world. Its research team looks at the same data as the Motley Fool, and it reached the opposite conclusion. These 4 developments did not exist or were not fully known when the Motley Fool published their article. They matter enormously for any honest assessment of XRP's direction. Step 6. My honest verdict. Are they right or completely wrong? I promised you at the beginning of this video that I would give you an honest answer, not an XRP cheerleader answer, not a dismissive answer, a real answer based on everything available right now. Here is my verdict. The Motley Fool is partially right and significantly wrong at the same time. They are right that XRP is optional in Ripple's product suite, and that Rust exists as a stable alternative for some use cases. These are real structural considerations that every XRP holder needs to understand honestly. Anyone who dismisses these points entirely is not thinking clearly. They are significantly wrong about the direction of travel. The institutional infrastructure being built around XRP right now is unprecedented in the asset's history. The Goldman Sachs position, the MasterCard partnership, the DTCC integration, the 5 acquisitions, the Brazil launch, the potential ETF approval in 7 days, the Standard Chartered price target. None of these developments support a conclusion that XRP is heading to $1. The Motley Fool looked at XRP's current price weakness and the macro headwinds and projected them forward without fully accounting for the institutional foundation being built underneath the price. That is the flaw in their analysis. My honest assessment is this. XRP going to $1 requires all of the following to be true simultaneously. The ETF approval on March 27th must not happen or must disappoint. The macro environment must deteriorate further. Institutional buying must stop or reverse. The Brazil launch must fail to generate on-demand liquidity volume. And the XRP community's 13-year record wallet accumulation must suddenly reverse into mass selling. All of those things are possible, but all of them happening simultaneously at exactly the same time is not the Motley Fool's most likely scenario. It is their worst-case scenario. And presenting the worst case as the most likely outcome is not balanced analysis. The most likely scenario based on everything available today is that XRP is building the foundation for a move significantly above $1.50 over the next 6 to 12 months. The path will not be straight. There will be volatility. There will be moments of fear. But the direction the evidence points is clear. The Motley Fool got this one wrong, and March 27th may prove it definitively. Now I want to hear from you. After everything you just heard, do you think the Motley Fool is right that XRP is heading to $1? Or do you think they made a significant analytical mistake? Type right if you think the Motley Fool is correct and XRP is heading to $1 or lower. Type wrong if you think they got this analysis completely wrong and XRP is heading higher. And type partially if you think they made some valid points but reached the wrong conclusion. Drop your answer right now in the comments. This is a genuinely important debate, and I want to know what this community thinks. I will reply to every single comment in the first hour. And here is something important. On March 27th, 2026, 7 days from today, we will have a definitive answer to one of the biggest questions in this video, the XRP ETF decision. I'm going to make a dedicated video covering that decision the moment it is announced. Subscribe right now so you do not miss it, because that video is going to be one of the most important XRP videos of 2026. Thank you for watching. I will see you on March 27th, and I will see you in the next one.